Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. I did actually think of a joke to do related to JoJo, but meh, don't really feel like it right now. Anyway, today we will be reacting to SCP-2741, a Sinister device. Yeah, Sinister. Well, it is an SCP, so it's probably deserved.
It resulted in yet another failure. After many years of hard work and creative effort, the artist had messed up again. His painting failed to impress the critics and connoisseurs, which meant that he would not get limited exposure given at the most grandiose exhibition amongst creative circles.
What an artist, you know?
At first, he wanted to destroy his entire workshop,
Artist's life.
but then he felt sorry for all the work that had been done. This caused him to become even more angry with himself, since a truly creative person would not hold back on his impulse, but rather destroy everything first, then from the chaos and emotions that arose, he would form a masterpiece. Well, sounds like a plan then, thought the master as he began to carefully and systematically destroy his whole workshop. Now standing amongst its ruins, half an hour later, he realized that the muse had still not come, and that a masterpiece would not be born out of this chaos. He burst into tears. The man was in a state of complete and utter desperation, and strange little thoughts about a severed ear and the creativity of left-handers flew around in his head. His mind frantically tried finding a way out, and it did. The man simply passed out. The artist regained consciousness somewhere on the outskirts of the city near a gloomy-looking warehouse. He had no recollection of how he got there, nor what he had done. Looking around, the man saw a roughly constructed wooden box next to him. The rubber gloves attached to the inside of the box especially caught his attention. The artist moved a little closer to examine this new discovery, and suddenly he beamed with joy. It was a work of art. Right then and there, an insidious plan came to the man's mind. He decided to take the strange box with him, and pass it off as his own new creation. The artist
That's a thief.
definitely like this one. There should hardly be any issues at all, since no one will know that he had just found it out on the streets. After all, whoever left the box there clearly has no involvement in creative events. After examining the box from all different sides, the man decided that it would be easiest to transport it by wearing the gloves and using the holes made for handles. Out of simple curiosity, he decided to put his hands in there. Suddenly, the skull depicted on the box spoke aloud, frightening the artist half to death. Catching his breath, he laughed at himself and stuck his hand in again, as he had just done. The toy turned on again, laughing in a mechanical voice, and asked, "Are you ready to get sinister?" The artist followed the instructions given by the plastic skull, but nothing happened. He waited a little, and then went home with the box. In the end, the unreasonably threatening skull did not influence him to change his plans regarding his new discovery. The next morning proved to be particularly difficult for the art master. Everything fell out of hands, and he literally had no control over his own limbs. By the middle of the day, he realized that it was not mere clumsiness. His formerly predominant right hand had lost all its precision. Everything had suddenly shifted over to a different limb, and he was now left-handed. When and how the anomalous box eventually ended up in the Foundation's possession is not specified.
Why is that Sinister, though?
A safe object, and put in containment under the number SCP-2741. The object has also been nicknamed Sinister Device due to the phrase it utters. The device looks like a wooden box that was
Fricking
handed together
ads.
in a hurry. Its length approximately 1 yard, and its height and width measure about 16 inches. On both sides of the box are small round holes labeled left and right, and rubber gloves are attached to these from the inside. The top of the box is crowned with a toy human skull made of plastic, and it has a speaker installed, as well as a switch and a connector for a AA battery. If you turn it on and put your hands in the gloves, the skull will speak. Large buttons can be felt just under the fingers inside the gloves. In an effort to figure out how they work, researchers conducted a series of experiments. D-Class D582 flicked the skull switch on to the active position, and a recorded mechanical voice was heard. The latter burst out laughing, and then asked if the user was ready to experience something sinister. The skull then gave the following instructions. The employee was to put on the gloves, put his hands in the holes according to how each one is labeled, and then simply press the buttons. After the subject finished the task, the object stated that it had done its job and something sinister had occurred. D582 then noticed strange sensations in his hands. For the next 6 hours following the experiment, his right hand felt numb and had a tingling feeling to it. In the left one, he felt a sort of light and pleasant sensation. The symptoms disappeared altogether after 12 hours. Since there were no visible changes, the scientists conducted tests, including ones for fine motor skills. It turned out that the D-Class employee, who was right-handed before the start of the test, had become left-handed afterwards. A number of experiments with subjects who had similar initial data finished with the same results. Then, the scientists decided to check out what would happen if a left-handed person took part in the experiment. Personnel D8 followed the instructions to the letter. The moment he put his hands in the holes and pressed the buttons, the skull spoke. Only this time he said, "My word, you are already so sinister." The subject reported no unusual sensations. The experiment also showed that he remained left-handed. The test results were confirmed by additional experiments, which ended with a similar outcome. If you think this is where the science comes to a halt, you're mistaken.
Nope.
Scientists apparently did not get to the point of testing animals, since an ambidextrous person became the next experimental subject. For reference, this is a person who has equally developed functions in both hands. This employee, like the other subjects before him, turned on the skull, put his hands in the gloves, and then pressed the buttons. The device initially started saying the same phrase as was said for left-handers, but then failed. It shouted for almost half a minute, and stopped only after the scientist knocked on the box. The skull was then turned off, and the subject was sent for re-examination. He reported numbness and tingling sensations in both hands. The symptoms were present for 16 hours, then went away. No changes in the hand's motor skills were found. SCP-2741 itself also underwent certain changes. For example, the skull no longer made any sounds after being turned on, and the anomalous properties of the object disappeared. The Sinister device is now considered neutralized and has been officially reclassified. The object is kept in a standard containment cell with no additional protection measures. The only special condition is that personnel are not allowed to put their hands in the box without permission. Among all the fierce monsters and deadly objects, SCP-2741, which simply makes people left-handed, seems a bit out of place.
Yeah, kinda.
Things are actually not as simple as they might appear. First off, its creator knew Latin, because the word sinister, which is constantly said by the object, means left hand in Latin, while the right is referred to by the word dexter. Second, the creator deliberately used a pun, which hints at him having a certain sense of humor. Anyone in particular come to mind? Well, I for one am
Wondertainment.
two possible candidates: Dr. Wondertainment and the Are We Cool Yet Hub. My guess is that either one of them or both were involved in making the object. Left-handed people are considered to have more fluid intelligence, and so they can better unleash their creativity. And this is the exact path taken by the previously mentioned organization. Are We Cool Yet is not a familiar, connected organization, but rather an artistic movement. It began to form right around the period when active study of the anomalous world kicked off. Its members create works of art based on, or even using anomalous objects. These are freelance artists, so they don't bother to create any kind of headquarters or leadership system. Some of them, who have become leaders in their group, organize a gallery or display room, while others become critics in secret, some because of their authority perhaps. The only meticulously organized art event is the extravagant exhibition that takes place once every 10 years. The creators present their best works made over the past decade. Becoming a participant at this event within creative circles is considered to be the greatest form of achievement and recognition. Artists from all over the world apply for the opportunity to showcase their work there. Members of one related organization are interested in the anomalous solely for artistic purposes. And for them, the topic of unleashing their creative potential is in fact the most relevant. SCP-2741 could have been created either by members of the Are We Cool Yet Hub, or for them instead. Using the mechanism, artists could change their dominant hand in order to find inspiration, stimulate the brain, or just for the heck of it. Also, the object is quite suitable for a functioning exhibit display. He'd either be warmly received by critics or ridiculed instead. I don't know for sure, since these artistic people are not always the easiest to understand. Another option also involves this organization, but Wondertainment as well. SCP-2741 may have been used by a failed artist as a fallback. Since he could not create anything impressive, he began to look for ways to stimulate his artistic talents. This artist may have turned to Wondertainment Factory for an answer, or simply found SCP-2741 among its various products. After all, the Sinister device doesn't necessarily have to have a logical explanation or practical application. If this is Wondertainment's creation, then by and large it's just a toy, and its task is to amuse its audience. Granted, the Doctor's inventions are most often marked with the appropriate logo, and are of fairly good quality. While SCP-2741 itself broke down at the first deviation from the very simple instructions, it would seem that this is still an unsuccessful attempt by a novice creator to craft some kind of anomalous mechanism or work of art. While I do recognize, of course, that not all aspects of my theories are the most sound, we're talking about a box that literally just swaps the functional abilities of someone's hands. So, what do you think might be going on? Let us know your thoughts regarding the origin and purpose of SCP-2741 in the comments below. And I beg you, do not stick your hands where they don't belong.
No promises with that one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I'll be making. So yeah, bye.